I'm here to talk to you about our company, Britevue. We are an online review platform, and we are trying to solve two inherent problems with online reviews that I call the incentive problem and the verification problem. So my favorite part about putting together these presentations is finding really bad online reviews. This one is really good because it gets to the heart of really what I see wrong with the online review space. So when companies like Yelp first came out, we saw an explosion of information about restaurants and hotels and all these different places help us determine where to give our business. But as Yelp evolved, for example, we started to see some entitled Yelpers emerge. But this wasn't really a problem. Really what this revealed to us was an incentive problem. So if you own a restaurant or you run a restaurant, or I talk to a lot of restaurant owners about this problem, Yelpers are their least favorite people in the world. They do not like the platform Yelp for a variety of reasons. But what kind of emerged was Yelpers trying to use their clout on social media in exchange for free food, favors, things like that. And what this really revealed to us is an incentive problem with online reviews that I'm going to talk about in a minute. If you're in the room there, I'd like you to raise your hand if you have used an online review to make a decision in the last week, and then keep your hand raised if you've written a review. And not even looking at anybody in the room, I can guess that almost all of you lowered your hand for that second question. And you're not really alone. Less than half of us will leave online reviews after a positive experience. But this is a real problem because we all kind of rely on these reviews for products, for restaurants, for hotels. But there's a definite asymmetry in the people leaving the reviews and the people relying on these reviews in the wild. And this is a really big problem to solve for business owners, because what just about any marketer will tell you is that you can't buy customer reviews. Any kind of ad campaign that you purchase is going to pale in comparison to just having a lot of really positive reviews. The other problem is that because that incentive exists to get as many reviews as possible, we've seen a emerging market in fake reviews. So if you ever go on Amazon, for example, and look at products made in China, or a whole host of other websites host a lot of reviews that you can just tell are fake and not genuine. And probably about half of us have seen those in the last year. And I found these stats interesting. So just looking at why people make fake reviews, aside from the direct incentives, I've spoken with people who are physicians, for example, private practice physicians that have a ton of one-star reviews on some of these online portals, and they aren't from their actual patients. So there's definitely a competitive incentive mechanism for people to leave fake reviews for a whole host of industries. And so we're here to talk about the BSV blockchain and Bitcoin itself. There's really three specific reasons why I think we can save some of the problems with the internet with Bitcoin. The first is micropayments, right? A native way of making these payments over the internet opens up a wide variety of applications that we can create together. Second is a peer-to-peer method of secure communication, because the cryptography used in Bitcoin itself allows us to have secure communication across parties. And then lastly, we have a global timestamp ledger, and that enables full auditability. So this is really important, and the properties of that I don't think are fully appreciated until you kind of think about it in a wider perspective. So I'm going to talk about the first and last ones and how we're utilizing these in our company to solve some real problems in the space. So the first is a native way of making payments. So we've built at Britevue.com. You can go today, and we've built an online review platform for any business that you can find on Google. You can now leave a review and earn money from other reviewers or other consumers in the platform. So, for example, in this location in Australia, you can tip users. Any upvotes that your review earns, you earn money. So what we're trying to do is provide a very simple bootstrapping mechanism for users to leave reviews in the first place. So if you had a positive experience somewhere by leaving a review, you have a promise of maybe a future reward just from your content getting popular. What we're unveiling in the next couple of weeks is articles. So travel blogs themselves, the entire monetization strategy for travel bloggers or travel guides is an ad-based system. So we've built a itinerary platform that allows you to build itineraries for locations, build top 10 lists, for example, maybe the top 10 barbecue places in North Carolina, things like that. You earn money when users interact with those articles, and then you can also paywall it to provide a direct monetization scheme. So what we want to do is really empower users to make a living off of reviews, which is what people tried to do when Yelp came out, but there was no direct monetization strategy over the internet. And then the other big piece that we're doing is using that global timestamp ledger, which enables us to have full auditability. And what that means is that we can actually start verifying online reviews using the BSV blockchain. So we've built a product called Veritas. This is available today for anybody to use. It's an API that allows you to link online reviews to a valid proof of purchase at point of sale. So I'll just kind of walk you through how this works in a pretty rudimentary level. It's a very simple, we've tried to make it as very simple as possible for anybody to plug into. So at point of sale, you just make a post call to the API. We issue a receipt onto the blockchain. And then that receipt is handed to the consumer that purchased the product. This could be any good. It doesn't just have to be at a restaurant. It could be any kind of brick and mortar sale. When they, let's say it's a paper receipt, maybe they scan a QR code, and that brings them to a form to leave feedback. When that feedback is submitted, you make another API call to our server, and then we post the review onto the blockchain as well. And now what we've done is we've created a verified link between the point of sale and the reviewer at a future time. So what we want to do is, a lot of companies today are solving the fake review problem by using machine learning and things like that to identify reviews after the fact. What we're going to do is actually just make it as easy as possible to leave a verified review and eliminate the market for fake reviews. This is our strategy of going about this, and it's only possible because of a global timestamp ledger that is the BSV blockchain to anchor to. And we have a lot of exciting announcements around both of these things I just mentioned, but I have to wait a little bit to tell you about that. But I just want to also hammer home that the Veritas API doesn't just have to be for point of sale. What we envision this service being used for is proof of use of anything. So you can imagine a world in the future where maybe you have an electronic product like an app or a game, and you want to validate that someone that left feedback about a certain part of your website, of your application, of your game, actually used that feature in the application. So what we can actually start doing is just using the blockchain to anchor the real world, things that you've actually done, to that digital feedback at a later time. And then the other big piece here is that all these locations are tokenized onto the blockchain. And so we're going to have very soon is the ability for business owners themselves to claim the location on the blockchain. And then what that means is that you can no longer do you have to like petition Yelp or Google or whoever else to update your hours of operation, for example. All of it is handled on one specific location on the blockchain. And then we will update that on the various platforms that exist. And businesses themselves can actually issue tokenized rewards, whether that's coupons, gift cards, anything like that, directly to reviewers. So it's very important for businesses to interact with reviewers. Studies have shown that just by commenting to say thanks for a review makes people trust the business more. So what we're going to do is actually allow businesses to interact by saying, hey, thanks for leaving a review. Here's $1 off the next time you come in, for example. And that is actually also packaged into the Veritas API. When the review is made in a smart contract, we automatically unlock the reward for the reviewer. So that's another way to incentivize that verified feedback. I'll stop it there. So if you want to get in touch with me, definitely feel free to shoot me an email. You can go to Britevue.com today. And also, if you are a business owner or you work with point of sale companies, you can go to veritas.britevue.com for more information on the Veritas API. You can get in touch with us that way as well. Thank you.
I'm going to talk about TonicPow, about the state of advertising right now, and some of the problems that we've ended up with as a result of the current model, and how we think Bitcoin changes some of that. So, as I mentioned, there's a bunch of problems. So we've got one main problem is that there's a big issue with invasive visitor tracking. The current model really relies on knowing a lot about the folks who are traveling around the internet and doing things like buying things and on Amazon or wherever, and we're tracking them around, trying to get an idea or a profile about these people. And there's kind of a lot of negative feeling about that now. Also, the fact that ads are just sort of so pervasive on the internet people developed kind of blindness. This is a well-known term, and people now install ad blockers, and it's kind of this war between the individual visitors and the entire ad industry. So this ends up creating a whole bunch of other perverse kind of incentives, like encouraging censorship when there's something that's maybe against a certain advertiser. The same thing happens on like YouTube when you've got a person who spends, years of their life sort of developing a big following, and then one day that can be kind of taken away from them and they're deplatformed because some piece of content was deemed advertiser unfriendly. And this is kind of a very one-size-fits-all approach that's just kind of, okay, if this person says this sort of content, we're just going to boot them off. And there's, I'll share in a minute why there's a much better way to do this. In the meantime, all of the revenue that the platforms are earning for advertising don't get shared with the value creators on those networks, which, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. This encourages the creation of data silos because you need everybody in your big network so that you can force ads down the pipeline and put them in front of faces. There's not a lot of transparency into how much a platform was earning from something or who it is that you're making deals with and why are you showing me this particular ad or any of that stuff. There's just a big gap there. And slow payout reconciliation when it comes to affiliate markets and things like that. That's sort of a little bit of a different piece, but something that we handle as well. So here's an example. This is kind of a narrow screen here, but you can see, if you can find where the content on this page is, it's a little hard to see. It's the breadcrumb area right over there. Now it's a little bit cheating because this is kind of a narrow screen, but you get the idea, and I'm sure everybody would agree that I could have probably come up with an even better example that was a little more fair, that was still just as ridiculous. But this is the state of things. Let's see. So our solution is kind of a few different things here. So one is we're creating a voluntary promotion marketplace. This is a really important piece. What this means is that instead of me being profiled and something showed to me, there's this kind of effect where we create a catalog of different advertisements. Promoters come and they visit those advertisements and they voluntarily are choosing things that they think fit really well with the audience that they've built over the years, whether it be a YouTube audience or a big Twitter following or whatever it is. The new paradigm compatibility. What I mean by this is that Bitcoin fundamentally is going to change the way that social media works in a bunch of other industries. It is a giant decentralized central platform. So what I mean by that is it's decentralized in the sense that there's no central point of control, but it is central in the sense that we can all build our businesses with Bitcoin as our backend. And this is going to affect social media in a big way. The way I imagine this happening is you may have thousands of social media sites that speak the same sort of open social protocol and connect to Bitcoin, and it's all part of one large social network, but it's distributed across many sites with many unique user interface features and things like this. So for a paradigm like that, me being an ad platform, I can't really rely on capturing this billions of users network effect and then shoving ads in their feeds based on what they've done on the internet. TonicPow is it's providing something that's compatible with what we think is the new way that social media is going to develop in the future. Radical transparency is another big part. This is something that Connor touched on here. Using Bitcoin as this timestamp database really does provide just an automatic way to be very, very transparent about things like payouts and when things happen and all that. Respecting user privacy, I've touched on that a couple of times. And leveraging Bitcoin also for what everyone else sees as a very obvious use case, which is payments. But with BSV, we have the unique ability to do micropayments, which really opens up a whole bunch of possibilities. So this is an example of what a campaign looks like on TonicPow. This is a campaign for the upcoming CoinGeek conference in New York. There's a campaign balance there. You can see there's a few $100 left in the coffers there, and it's paying out 15 cents per click. You can see there's been thousands of clicks and hundreds of conversions with the little green icons underneath the image. But I want to draw your attention to this reward section on the bottom. And anyone who goes to TonicPow, signs up, shares this campaign on their social media account. If somebody was to click your link, you'll get the 15 cents. But if they go on to buy a ticket, you're going to get 10% of that ticket sale. So that's really cool. And you can start to imagine how you might apply this to all sorts of different things. So this is, just to go back 1 second here, if you see that share button in the bottom, it gives you a bunch of options to share, one of which is to share in person, which is what I'm showing you here. This is the share in person option. If you were to scan this, it's actually going to take you to that link that you see there. That's going to credit me the 15 cents as the promoter. And if you did purchase a ticket, I would get credit for that. So just a quick demo there. Talking a little bit about how the ad marketplace works. We're doing a lot to really push this concept of a marketplace. So we're adding a bunch of new things here pretty soon, which I'll show in the slides. But flexible individual pricing is an important part of what we're working on right now. This means that you can imagine, as an example I often give, let's say somebody on social media has tens of thousands of followers because they do fishing videos or something like that. They're sports fishermen or something. Well, you might have a sporting goods store that has an ad campaign, but if everyone gets the same pay per click and the same conversion rate, it doesn't make as much sense. There's certain people who have a very tailored audience for that advertiser, and so what we're introducing is the ability to negotiate pricing directly between the advertiser and the promoter. Now, part of negotiating those rates is you're going to show me your social media profile and I'm going to get an idea of what your audience is like, but I also want to see your past performance. So we use the blockchain and we use the technology that we've developed to show some really nice, robust statistics about the promoter's past performance so that an advertiser can kind of get a good gauge. Reputation and discovery is going to be another part of this. You want to see that promoters and advertisers alike have had good relationships and good work history with others in the past, and you can kind of rely on that to help you decide if somebody is maybe worth a little more than you might give to somebody else. And all of this is working with voluntary agreements. If something's not working out, either side can terminate that agreement at any time. So here's kind of a little demo of the bidding and hiring. This is the same kind of interface. You would just pick, TonicPow supports you having multiple advertisers and multiple campaigns. So you would choose who you want to hire somebody for, and then you would actually make them an offer. And this works in the reverse. If a promoter is looking at a campaign, they can say, hey, I see you're giving 10 cents for this, but, I think my audience is a really good fit. And, how about 15? And you could do that also for any of those little reward sections, like the CoinGeek has the 10% back or 10% of a ticket sale. You could negotiate on any one of those individual goals that were established on that campaign. Radical transparency. So I already kind of touched on this. Using on-chain transactions, all clicks and conversions are timestamped and recorded on the ledger. This has an interesting side effect that there could be entirely third-party services that were to spring up that have nothing to do with TonicPow, that just maybe they specialized in designing really good reporting dashboards that you could glean interesting information and make better decisions. There could be entire businesses based on that. And that's because we're recording everything on the ledger. It makes for some really interesting dynamics. Independent audits, that's kind of what I just covered there. Campaign statistics, this is the same, very similar to what I just mentioned with just having good reporting. We're building really detailed campaign statistics with not only the on-chain data, but also some supplementary data that we might have that we don't put on chain that maybe is a little bit more private to the promoter or something like that. But if you're doing business with a person, obviously you might want to see a little bit more information. This would help you detect if somebody is maybe trying to cheat your campaign in some way or something like that. And again, reputation allows people to kind of get an idea for whether or not they can establish some level of trust with a person. So this is what promoter statistics look like now, but obviously we're adding more to this all the time. You can kind of get an idea of their activity and where they're sending you traffic from, and looking at the ratio between how many clicks they send you versus conversions and things like that. And let's talk about respecting user privacy. So I mentioned that there's no invasive tracking. Since promoters are going and looking at this catalog of campaigns, they're finding something that's applicable to them. It means that we don't need to do any targeting whatsoever. The targeting is indirect. The promoter is determining who to share with as far as the visitors go, without having to know every little detail about their personal lives. I did mention how we think that the internet is going to develop, and that we built this with that in mind. Because of this means that you'll be able to use TonicPow with any one of these thousands of new websites that we think will emerge in the future. And this is a compatible advertising model for what we think is going to develop in the future. So because everything is voluntary, and because these are agreements between two parties, we don't need to do things like deplatforming. This should be very attractive to any influencer or promoter that's out there that's dealt with these sorts of issues. If you use TonicPow, you are making an agreement with a person. Just because your content might not be suitable for one advertiser, there's another that would probably love it. Different strokes for different folks. So this also leads to just helping this movement of breaking down data silos that have all kinds of other weird implications. We kind of see this on social media now with really kind of broad stroke censorship that's going on, and they're now employing fact checkers to kind of come in and put their stamp of approval on information and things like this. This whole model actually helps to sort of dislodge some of what we don't like that's emerging on the internet. And real-time micropayments. So since we're using Bitcoin for all of this, if the advertiser is agreeing to give this person instant payouts because they trust them, though, as soon as you get a click, you can immediately see that reflected in your wallet. So you get really fast reconciliation. Well, it's instant in those cases, but if it's not, then we give really good tools that make it easy for an advertiser to just go ahead and approve your activity and send the payouts instantly. We offer a gamified reward experience. We've really loved the idea of gamification. Bitcoin lends itself to this really, really well, and we've baked a lot of that type of thing into our user interface. Users earn points as they do things that kind of prove their trustworthiness, and they earn BSV, and in the future they'll earn BSV-based tokens for participating in this system. I've mentioned already, you can monetize this on any platform, and this is a really powerful thing. There's lots of different niches and places that you can imagine doing this. I mean, I showed you that little share QR code there. You can imagine actually printing these out on stickers or flyers or something, and you can actually do physical advertising that gives you rewards in the same way. And yeah, payouts go directly to your wallet because we support any traditional Bitcoin address or PayMail address. And so it doesn't matter what wallet you use, although we integrate tightly with several of them. We're compatible with everything. That's it. I'm glad. I think I got through this pretty quickly. If you want to check out the platform, you can scan that QR code there. That should get you there. It's tonicpow.com if you just want to type it in. And if anybody wants to reach me, that's my handle on Twitter, and there's my email. And yeah, hope to see you in the sign up notification. So.